So tonight, Yud Gimel Elul, the 13th of Elul, which is a special day in Chabad date. It's the wedding anniversary of the Frierdiker Rebbe. We're going to celebrate this week on the 15th the opening of Temimei. We have a big event here in Yeshiva, and the Yeshiva's opening was actually a gift of the Rabbi Shamai to his son on his Sheva Brachos, on his wedding. So he was actually, we'll probably forbring about this, but one of the requests of the Frierdiker Rebbe was to have a yeshiva. And the Rabbi Shamai didn't want for a long time until he agreed. And he agreed, Mamish at the Sheva Brachos, and he said, my son, I'm giving you a gift. So it's really tonight is a special day, which also continues yesterday, which was the anniversary of the Rabbi Shamai's wedding anniversary. So from the Rabbi Shamai's anniversary to the Frierdiker Rebbe into the fruits that came out, which is Temimei, and essentially down to us, is itself a huge blessing. So we're in these days, and tonight is also the Ben Ish Chai's Hilula, which is a huge tzaddik, Kabbalist, and halachic posek in Baghdad. So and he actually had a connection with the Alter Rebbe. He quotes the Alter Rebbe a lot in his writings, although he was in Baghdad. Anyways, so tonight we're going to discuss the four worlds, the four spiritual worlds. So we spoke last about the concept of understanding Hashem. How can we understand Hashem? Seemingly on one side we said it's impossible. We can't even start to identify, give names, understanding, logics of Hashem. But then we said, unless we have the wisdom of God given to us from above. And on Hashem's terms, He can tell us who He is, He can tell us how He is, and Torah speaks in the language that we can understand. So everything that Torah speaks about, especially in Chassidus, is in order to give us a grasp in Hashem, to have an awareness of God and a intimate connection with Hashem in a way that we could understand Him and also experience Him and feeling Him as well personally. And the way to do that, we explain, is through learning Seder Hishtashlus, which is the order of the spiritual worlds, from the original Tzimtzum down to this physical world. And all the whole process is basically telling us about God, about His desire to create the world and the way He creates the world. In order to know Him, knowing Him means knowing His intellect, which is His wisdom. Knowing Him means emulating His emotions, to be like Him, and to know Him in these ways, in the way that we are the reflection of Hashem, gives us the ability to have a contact with God, to be in a relationship with Hashem. This is the goal of the Hishtashlus. Now, through learning Hishtashlus, we come to a complete heart in service of Hashem. It awakens love for God. It awakens awe for Hashem. It's a very, very profound way to be close to God, to know that Hashem is constantly creating the world, constantly creating me, is always with us and within us. And who we are in our own character is made in the image of God. Now, Hashem has no image, as we said. But the image of Hashem, the image of God, is the way He reveals Himself through His sphirot, through His lights, which are the four worlds in general, and especially each world has its own sphira, all the way up to Adam Kadmain, which is the supernal man, the supernal resemblance of Hashem, which at that level we are the image of the spiritual source of Adam Kadmain, which is why Adam means man, but also means to resemble. Because we are called man, Adam, because we resemble Adam Kadmain, the supernal man, which is the revelation of Hashem in His 10 sphirot. And we went even a little deeper than that, by the way. We also explained that Chassidus, and Chassidus Chabad specifically, not only reveals Hishtashlus in a way that we could understand all the worlds and understand the whole process and the chain-like descent to understand where we come from, who we are, how do we connect and emulate God. But furthermore, Chassidus reveals to us how to grasp and know God's essence, which itself is a huge chiddush that we cannot understand how to understand. But Yisrael Chassidus speaks about Oren Seif before the Tzimtzum, speaks about Atzmus, about Hashem's essence. At that level, it's such a deep idea that it's basically revealing to us how to also grasp Hashem's essence, which is itself a huge chiddush, which is really when Mashiach comes, we're going to see Hashem, we're going to understand God. not just the Sefirot and not just the extension of God's light, but God Himself. We're going to know God Himself. And this is the Chiddush of Chassidus Chabad, is that it explains to us in a way that we could grasp as much as possible, because there's so much we can understand. Obviously, we're physical, limited human beings. We can't understand everything. But Chassidus Chabad explains to us what's above the tzimtzum. We see in Kabbalah or in other Chassidus and other streams that explains Ishtashilus, it only goes up to the original tzimtzum and maybe a little before the tzimtzum, which is the Or Ein Sof. God's infinite light before the tzimtzum. But it doesn't explain that. It doesn't go higher. It doesn't explain. Atzmos is the word that you can't even say or mention, because it's God Himself. You can't talk or grasp. But Chassidus Chabad goes and explains the Or Ein Sof. It explains the levels of the light of God in the Or Ein Sof, and each one has its own dimension, which is a different reflection of God. Where are the worlds rooted from? The light that is infinite, the light that's limited. Where is it rooted in the Or Ein Sof? All the way up to Atzmos, God's very essence. And in Chassidus speaks about Atzmos in a very simple way. So it's not trying to make sense out of it, but it's making it accessible for us to connect to Atzmos in a personal way. And that is a huge Chiddush, which is a preparation for when Mashiach comes. We're going to have the revelation of Atzmos, and we're going to see Atzmos, and we're going to see Atzmos in the whole world. We're going to experience how the world itself is an expression of the Atzmos. We're going to see the power of Atzmos that creates the world constantly, and how we contain the power of Atzmos. We essentially, in the deepest essence of who we are, is Atzmos. And that's the greatest awakening of Mashiach, is that we awaken to the ultimate truth that there's nothing else but Atzmos. And even the Sefirot, even the extension of Hashem's light, and all of the Ishtashtus is a ray of Atzmos, and it's one with Atzmos. And all it does essentially is point to Atzmos. And that's also one of the greatest principles we need to understand when we're learning Ishtashtus, and Bichlal, learning different kavanos or names of God or intentions, that we have to have one thing in mind the whole entire time, that all it is pointing towards Hashem's Atzmos, pointing towards God, toward God Himself. Because it's not something other than God. The Sefirot are not something other than Hashem. It's not the names of God are not something other than Hashem, Chas v'Shalom. It's an extension of God, and all it is essentially is pointing to God's essence. So there's different Maimarim, different parts in the Chassidus where the Rebbe explains that the names of God, although they're a name, and a name is just an extension of the individual, when it comes to God, His names are one with Him. They're one with His essence. Therefore, the names, even the name Havaya, especially Havaya, but Elokim and Shin Daled Yud and Kael and all the names of a God, are all revelations of Atzmos essentially. Although they're seemingly rays, and it's not Atzmos, but at its core it's only Atzmos, which basically reveals to us how, since everything is rooted in the names of God and in the words of God, the utterances that Hashem creates the world with, it's essentially revealing to us that everything and all the extensions and the rays and even the contractions, all Atzmos. And that's a very profound thing. So today we can start mentioning, at least begin the idea of the four worlds, which we're gonna speak more at length, and as well the way it exists within us, because we are the Ishtashlos. Our whole body, the physical body, and the neshama we have contains the whole entire Ishtashlos. We are a small world, while the world is a big body. And everything exists in the world and exists within us. We have the earth, we have oceans inside of us, we have the trees, which are the hair. Every part of our body represents the universe, and especially spiritually, which is the source of it, is that our neshama contains the whole entire Ishtashlos, from Atzilus to Bria to Yetzirah to Asiya, and the physical Asiya is the body. We contain the whole map, and we are a mashal, essentially, a real mashal, because we exist. But the real spiritual significance is the way it exists above, and we represent that. So it says, from my flesh I see God. By understanding the self, the flesh, and the soul that's in the flesh, we're able to see Hashem. Not just understand God, not just believe in God, but see God. Visualize Him in the eye of the mind, but let's see Him physically. We're able to see Hashem in the physical world, in our physical bodies. And that's the goal of studying Ishtashulus and understanding the worlds. So the world in general, we have four worlds. And these worlds exist on a general scale or also in a particular scale. Klalus and Pratus. But in general, we have four worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, and Nasiya. The highest world, Atzilus, is the world of oneness. is the world. The Zohar says that Atzilus says that Ihu v'chaya yichad, Ihu v'gamo yichad. Him and his lights are one. Him and his vessels are one. It's the world of oneness. It's the world that the 10 Sfirot are now considered a world. Before that, there's 10 Sfirot in Adam Kadmon. There's 10 Sfirot above, and we're going to go revisit this as well. We're going to revisit Adam Kadmon and the contraction and what happens after. But when we understand the 4 worlds generally, then we're able to go higher and also lower as well. But this is like the main Ishtalshlus is the 4 worlds. So the 10 Sfirot of Atzilus now finally take shape in a form of a world. And a world means a universe. That Olam means concealment, and therefore every world is a concealment. But the world of Atzilus is unique because it's not a literal world the way we're used to thinking that it's a universe that conceals God. The world of Atzilus is a world that reveals God. It's a world that's completely godly. There is no separation, no yesh, no thing that is other than God in the world of Atzilus. That means that's what the Zohar said, that the lights and the vessels are one with Him. There's no separation between the lights and the vessels, and especially the vessels which are the container of the light, doesn't feel itself as an other than the light. It feels one. There's union and there's inclusivity between every sphera. The Chokhmah and Bina come together. Chesed and Gvura, all the opposite sphirot come in a perfect, balanced way. Because in the world of Atzilus, it's also called the world of Tikkun. The world of fixing is the world that brings all the different sphirot in a complete way. They each one complement each other. There is no separation, there's no explosion the way it was in Tohu, which is the world of chaos. Before Atzilus, there was a process which is called Tohu, the chaos. Each sphere was too powerful for each other, and they pretty much blew up because of intense energy. And the world of Tikkun, the world of rectification, which is the world of Atzilus, is the world that rectifies and fixes this intense energy and now channels each energy of the sphere in a balanced way. Now each sphere could coexist together. And that's the world of Atzilus, which is why Atzilus also means comes from the word Etzel. Etzel means close to, because it's close to Hashem. It's the closest world to God. It's the emanation of Hashem. It's the world that reveals. It's the perfect world. The goal is Atzilus. Not in Atzilus, the goal is Atzilus in this world, as we'll see, but the goal is Atzilus. It's the perfect world. Which is why in the Sfirot, Atzilus refers to the sphere of Chachma. Chachma is not wisdom as we're used to translating. Chachma is the flash of revelation. It's the original, seminal revelation that comes from nothing. It's the power of what? Koachma. The power of what? The power of questioning, of arousing the mind to start grasping something that's above the mind. It's a level that tries to transcend itself, to understand something that is above us, to download this new information, this new revelation that is now coming down in Chachma. That's what Chachma is. The power of Koachma, the power of what? Therefore, in the sphere of Chachma, the feeling is bittul. The feeling is nullification, surrender. There is no grasp yet. There's no expansion. There's no logic. It's pure surrender, which is what the world of Atzilus is, which is the world of unity, the world of oneness, which is why unity could only happen when there's surrender, when there's inclusivity and compromise, and each level complements each other. That is when there is oneness. So bittul leads to achdus. Surrender, nullification leads to unity, to oneness. And that is the world of Atzilus. That's the world of surrender, the world of complete unity that reveals the oneness of Hashem in a perfect way. There is no other Bargada at that world, which is the experience of Chachma. When we tap into our Chachma, which is our Atzilus in our soul, the world of Atzilus within us is the level of Chachma, which is there's only Hashem. Hu ve'en zulase. There's only Him and nothing else. That is the experience of Chachma, which is a deep level of bittul. That we realize and we tap into the revelation of that where there's nothing else but Hashem. In short, right? Then we go to the world of Bria. And the world of Bria literally means the world of creation. Why is it called the world of creation? In Kabbalah, when we use the word creation, it's referring to creation, yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. It's creation means it's a creation that did not exist before, now it exists. It was nothing, or there was nothing, and now there is something. And this is what we call creation. This is why the Torah says, Bereshis bara Elokim. In the beginning, God created the world, because the world is created from nothing. The physical matter is created from absolute nothingness. And so too it is in the world of Bria. Where is the origin of matter? What is the origin of physicality, of a thing? is the spiritual matter, which starts in the world of Bria, which is the beginning of a feeling of self, of an other, of vessels feeling individuated from source, starts in Bria. Therefore it's called the world of creation, the world where now there's a dimension. Again, these worlds are dimensions. And I forgot to say this, but these worlds exist everywhere, and there are layers of dimension. So the deepest core is Atzilus. Everything has Atzilus. Where is Atzilus? Right here, right now, everywhere. Where is Bria? Everywhere as well. But it's a further, more exterior layer of Atzilus, this is why it's called the Ishtashlos, the chain-like descent. It's a chain. We said this last time, that the bottom of the chain is connected to the top of the lower chain. So the bottom level of the higher world now becomes the crown of the lower world. So Atzilus leads to Bria. It's a chain. And it starts in a deeper level, and it leads to a more external, more contracted other level, which is the one we're talking about right now is Bria, which starts from Atzilus into Bria. So from Atzilus, the world of unity, we have now the beginning of individuation, of separation. Now, it's not a real separation because it's still spiritual, but it's called the beginning of Yesh, which is why in the Rabbi Chaim Vital writes that the world of Atzilus is called Kula Teiv. It's a world of complete goodness, because in Kabbalah, good means selfless, evil means selfish. That's what it is in Kabbalah. You see good and evil. What's good and evil? Selfless, and selfish. So in Atzilus, it's completely selfless. Kula Teiv. Bria, it says, Ruvai Teiv, and the Miut Ra. In Bria, it's majority good, meaning majority selfless, but there's a little evil there, which is a little self, a little ego. And that is where the feeling of self starts to develop, which is why in our soul powers, what is the world of Bria? In ourselves, the world of Bria in us is the sphere of Bina, which comes after Chachma. And it's different than Chachma. Bina is not the spark of revelation where you surrender and question and bring down the revelation down into your Chachma. Bina is now expanding that seed into logic, into something. You're taking the idea and making sense out of it. Downloading it, internalizing it, expanding it, and it says in Bina there's the width, there's the length, there's the height, your mamish understanding in every single level. You're expanding that one seed into a great chamber, like the Zohar says, that the Chokhmah and Bina is connected, is like the idea of a seed in the chamber. Nikuda behechala, the point that's in the chamber. Because the point is Chokhmah, the seed, it's the light. Bina is the chamber that expands that light, which is why it's also compared in Kabbalah to Abba and Ima. That the Abba is Chokhmah, which is the world of Atzilus, the father, the seed, and Bina is the mother, which is the womb, the recipient, which now develops that seed into a fetus, into a child. Because that is the connection between Chokhmah and Bina, the right brain and the left brain. The right brain is Chokhmah, which is that vision. Which is why also they say that creativity comes from the right side of the brain, which is more like the vision, downloading just ideas from our own subconscious. And then Bina is the analytical brain, which is the logic, which is now bringing into details, understanding it, categories, subcategories, every single level, in order to now bring the logic from the seed of revelation, which is what Bina is, which is why it's the world of Bria, the world of creation, because Bina creates an idea based on your vision. So Chachma is vision, Bina is understanding, expanding the vision. So you have an idea, you want to travel somewhere, you want to go somewhere, and now Bina expands that. Now practically, how do I bring it down? And I have to thoroughly understand it, thoroughly bring it down, which is why we call Hisbanenus, which is Chassidic meditation, Hisbanenus from the word Bina. Because Chassidic meditation is not just being in the state of Chachma, but it's expanding the Chachma. It's developing it into a complete intellect, a complete brain. And that is the left, which is why it's the world of Bria. And the world of Bria is really where now there's a feeling of self. Now, if you ask what is the self within me, we're usually going to go all the way up to the mind. Higher than the emotions. What makes someone into someone? His opinions, his mind, his understanding, because that is the brain. The brain makes you into an other. So you may believe the same beliefs as others, you may feel similar, but your brain really makes you unique, because your brain is your understanding. It's your Bria that is now individuating you from source and individuating you from others as well, in a good way. It's you being a self, you having your own mind and having your own choices, your own understanding, your own grasp. And that's where Bria is the world of understanding, which is the beginning of individuation from the world of Atzilus, which is the world of oneness. So tonight we covered Atzilus and Bria, which is Chachma and Bina inside the Neshama, the selflessness, the bittul, the surrender, the power of what, which connects with as well the second world, the world of Bria, and leads to the world of Bria. Although Atzilus doesn't create Bria, but Bria comes after and as a continuation of Atzilus to now expand in a way of individuation, of creation. Now we're revealing from nothing into something and expanding the idea, the revelation of oneness that exists in the world of Atzilus. And tomorrow, God will cover Yitzir and Asiya and the way it exists within us, and also understanding the purpose of these four worlds together as well, God willing.